Welcome, everybody, to your least favorite podcast. My name is Mark, and I am here with all of my friends.
Steven.
Nick.
Jake.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. We're having a good time here.
I'm not.
At least I am. I'm having a good
We'll
time.
fix
I'm here with all
that.
my friends. I like hanging out with my buddies.
We'll put an end to that.
It brings me so much joy to see y'all's faces.
Hopefully by the end of this, we can turn that around.
We can fix that for you.
How you guys doing?
Fine.
Could you know what? Yeah, it's fine. We're okay.
Good. I'm doing pretty well.
Nobody asked.
Counting down the weeks till my baby gets here.
And then what?
Then I'll have a baby.
Mark's gonna have the baby and then just be like, this is not what I thought it was gonna be.
Thought I could just attach it to my chest and play games at the computer.
Anytime we have a minor inconvenience because we have to figure out where to put the dog when we go somewhere, I just think that having a child would be even worse.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it's easier having a kid, for sure.
We have a lot of people that want to watch the kid. So, like, once it's, like, not a newborn, should be pretty good.
For those first few years, it's like taking care of a houseplant.
Mm-hmm. Just gotta make sure it's watered, and we're good to go. It's fine. We're gonna bring her up for 4th of July.
Okay.
Yeah?
Isn't that gonna be awesome?
You think she'll be ready to travel by then?
Probably not, but
A 6-month-old baby.
it's fine.
Are they able to walk at 6 months? Like, what's the progress rate of a human?
Yeah, when did they start drinking?
Yeah, I don't actually know the timeline of that.
Shouldn't you have researched all of this? Like, when are they supposed to start talking? When are they supposed to start walking?
Well, difference for every kid because my niece was talking at like a year to year and a half old or something like that, and then like my nephew like didn't actually like want to say any words until he was like 3 almost.
So it's safe to assume they will walk before they learn to talk. I think if it's the other way around, it'd be weird. Like they're on the ground, like saying gibberish, but they can't move. That'd be kind of strange.
Well, I mean, animals in the wild probably learn how to like make noises before they can walk, right?
I would like to see these animals.
I mean, just
Animals make
any
noise
of them?
before they move.
Yeah.
Like they move, but like
not before they're walking.
Animals are born ready to go. You know why humans have such a problem? It's because they have big fucking heads and they have to shrink their heads down, which like reduces their development so they can fit through the birth canal, which is why they're dumb as a rock when they're born. It's an evolutionary thing. They come out like basically underdeveloped in order to fit their giant head.
yeah, and then have way bigger capacity than any animal. So
If they live, they're basically useless right away. Like, what if
Yeah,
there's a
but-
lion waiting right there when they're born? A giraffe.
I don't
would
think
be
it would
gone.
matter. I don't think it would matter how smart they were, to be honest, if there was a lion waiting there for them when they were born.
Yeah, and they
A
can't even
giraffe
walk.
wouldn't do any better. There's no
Heck
newborn
yeah.
animal that would do okay.
They hit
against
the
a
ground and they
fucking
run.
lion. No, they
They're
don't.
ready to go.
No,
They
they do
don't.
not.
Look it up.
kinda
Look how
animal
long
That
it
is,
takes.
I don't need to look that
Look
up.
up
That
how
is
long
not.
it takes an animal
That
to walk
is
versus
not
a human.
accurate. Walking
it
ain't
up.
gonna do shit against
Look
a
it up.
lion.
Look it up, he says.
All right, so babies typically start walking between 10 to 18 months.
Exactly.
They start crawling between 7 and 12 months and stand between 9 and 12 months.
Sounds like horrid creatures.
But they
Sounds like you might be able to get your winter trip in up here next year, Mark. You know?
See, baby giraffes can
them
run
to be
10
ready to go.
hours after birth. They can start running.
Yeah, if
10
there's
hours.
a lion waiting for
Okay.
them outside the birth canal.
All right, 10 hours, and we'll
They're
see
dead.
which one's alive at the end.
Now, if there's
10
a
hour-
lion, neither one of them.
The lion shows up 10 hours later and go.
He's just ready to go. Okay.
10 hours, 6 months.
Yeah, either way, that lion, if they're right there, you're dead.
Even if that baby giraffe can run, I'm still pretty sure the lion catches it.
Okay. Elderly lion, like
I'm
really,
still
really
sure
old.
it would still kill a baby giraffe.
Bad eyesight, can't see that great. Maybe a
Yep.
bum knee.
I'm still
lions have
taking that
knees.
lion.
I'd still take like a 3-legged lion over any of
I,
that.
I want to see this now. Go find it.
You put it together. You're the one that wants to see it.
I'm sure we can get AI to make it for us. I've been seeing all these videos online where people are using AI as their B-roll footage now instead of just clips of other things. It's kind of weird because you can watch them and see like, oh, their head's on backwards. Oh, those people have 15 arms. Like, there's just weird things about them. But I guess it's better than just looking at a picture.
I've mainly just been reading election comments this week on the internet, so I really don't have too much new things.
What, everyone's happy about what happened?
Not everyone's happy.
Well, I mean, the majority of people are happy.
That is true. It is the majority.
I have no comments on the election.
They can't even be mad about that because it was the majority this time.
Like,
See,
I will say, no matter what, like, the comments would have been pretty funny either way. Like, the comments are very, very funny that Trump won, and I think the comments would have been very, very funny if Trump lost too. It just,
I don't
all
care about
around
any
humorous.
party, but my issue with the whole election, which is really hard to sum up in a short thing, is there's not but a 0% chance that voting for Trump could potentially lead to more concerning things down the line. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't have the time to like dig into it.
I don't want to know why. What do you mean?
Well, let's just look at the stuff that's going on. Like, besides the rhetoric that goes on with that, like they're trying to, whatever their policies, like trying to get people back to older values, trying to get people, not counting the economy, not counting immigration, that's whatever. There's just a lot of things that sound eerily similar when you start looking at like how the Nazis came to power. And I'm not saying they're Nazis. What I'm saying is go watch like a bunch of documentaries talking about like the lead up to that situation. And there's a lot of things that sound very similar, like deporting people or like the enemy with, there's a lot of words they use that are just concerning. And you couple that with like how the Supreme Court just undid any provisions to protect.
Is that
like,
where all the
powers of
Nazi
the-
comments come from? Because like I read the Nazi comments all the time, claiming that Trump's a Nazi and Trump supporters are all Nazis. I didn't understand where that came from.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff where the way they paint immigrants is like how they painted Jewish people. And I'm not talking about like when World War II kicked off and the Holocaust was going on. I'm talking about the like 4 years prior that they had to change the minds of the people and get them on board with what was about to happen. There's a lot of things that sound very similar. And I'm not even saying all the supporters are like Nazis or anything like that. It's just like propaganda, right, is a thing. And it goes both ways. Like both sides got their fair share of it. But it's just difficult to sift through all the things and make sure you're not being manipulated without realizing it. We were watching all these things where it's just like little stuff all along the way. They're just like they'll paint this group of people as the bad guy, and you start like seeing more and more stuff, and it starts by going, oh, I don't like those people, and then the rhetoric starts building up, and you can start basically just getting people more and more worked up. I don't know. It's hard to.
What you're saying though is Trump does not have the same rhetoric as Hitler. Like that's the problem that they keep. Hold on, they keep throwing that out there. Trump has never once said that he wants to get rid of any part of America. Illegal immigrants are not a part of America, right? Like he's never been like, yeah, we're gonna get rid of the blacks or we're gonna get rid of the, whatever specific race or religion you want to call out. Hitler did say that when he was coming up through power. Hitler also had a country that was absolutely decimated by World War I that had no military and had nothing. And America is not that. It's not the same situation.
I'm not saying
they
it's
are
the
trying
exact
to drive.
same.
No, but
I'm
like saying that there's similarities is not
you
smart.
just have to be careful about how easy it is to manipulate people.
You also have to have people be careful about comparing a current day president to Hitler when it's not the same thing.
I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm saying it's similar.
Comparing
I'm saying there's a lot of things that sound the same, and then you couple that with like, well, you look at like how he eventually like did do the bad stuff in full view of everybody. America has protections for that type of thing. But the Supreme Court undid that. They were like, the president has presumed immunity from any official acts, and you can't bring evidence against the president for investigating whether or not those were official acts. That's a big mess up, because that's like opening up the president to do whatever they want, no matter who it is. And
yeah, that's not how that happened in Germany.
No, but I'm saying like just everybody's just
got to
realize that these things happen in the past, and that doesn't mean things can't happen again.
Trying to justify humans. Why they are comparing him to Hitler is not good for the country. No matter what way they twist it, no matter what way you twist it, no matter how you put it, Trump is not doing the same thing Hitler did. He's not doing the same things Hitler did. He's not even close to what Hitler did.
I'm just saying there's similarities in the tone, the verbiage, and then you like work the people up, and that's dangerous too. People can be pulled into a riot pretty easily. People can shift and get on board with really simple concepts.
Yeah, like saying Trump was doing the same things as Hitler.
I think like the big thing that you've mainly said is like the getting rid of the immigrants section. Like everything else kind of applies both ways though. So like the one, like even Harris though was talking about, securing the border at, she kind of flipped her policy there. But like I still don't get the correlation from strictly Trump to Hitler.
There's not. Hitler said that the Aryan race was the superior race, and not once has Trump ever said anything to say that illegal immigrants are less of a person than a normal person. The biggest thing he says is they commit more crimes, which is just purely facts. But like,
it's not. I said it's not the same. It's similar. Like it's the
not
same
though.
Ideas where you're saying we need to get rid of these people. These people are all bad. We got to start twisting the narrative against them.
They're twisting the narrative on that is the problem. He's not saying they're all bad. He's saying that a majority of those that come over are bad, but he's not saying all of them are bad. And that's the problem, is like listening to any part of that is not good, because he's not saying that we need to put all these people into camps and deport all of them and kill them all and do all this different shit to them, right? And he doesn't say that all Mexicans are bad. He doesn't say that any other race is all bad or any other illegal immigrants are bad, right? He specifically calls out the gangs, like the ones that took over the apartment complex here, right? He calls out the specific people that do that and points them out, but they don't share that fully because it doesn't fit the script on that side of it. And I'm not saying that Trump's perfect. Trump is not the perfect, like, this is the best two candidates we could come up with out of everybody is kind of shitty, but it's just life, right? But Trump is not Hitler, and he's not doing anything near similar to what Hitler did. And it's not smart to say that he is, because it's not true.
That's both their faults for putting up those people. Like, the Democrats fuck around too much, and then now I guess they find out. And like, Trump's the best one. My issue there is like, there's so much more when you like unpack these things, that like, even when you talk about, like you mentioned the thing in Aurora, right? Like the apartment complex, they didn't like go in because actually had to go look at what that was. It's like, well, you think the police would stop a gang from taking over a building? Well, they're like, no, what actually happened is it's like a slum, first of all. So they're like, it's a shithole building where the landlord doesn't even live here, doesn't care about it. It's already being occupied by people who are like just kind of working with what they got. Then the gangs move in because they're like, well, this building's basically abandoned. We just take it, and the people that are there the like handful that are left are the ones complaining about it.
Yeah.
So like it's technically right, but it's not just a gang came and took over some high-rise apartment.
That's not what I mean for it to be either.
There's always more to all these things.
But the thing that was brought out to light in that is that the local government and even the fucking state government wasn't doing anything about it. That's in lies the problem, is when they just allow that shit to happen, don't do anything about it. That's the point behind that.
Yeah,
because they don't want to see as, oh, we're going against the immigration and all this other stuff. That's not a thing. Like,
I'd be first to say the government has major concerns with like their lack of response to things, but like there's a lot of extra things that go on. It's like looking at the immigration thing, and they were like, well, Trump was president for 4 years, and his goal was to build a wall. He built a wall. That didn't stop anybody. He did the Return to Mexico or the Stay in Mexico Act, and that just kept them in the border towns. And so like it depends on which way you approach rhetoric. They're like, well, we want to send them to these places. They're safe. They'll be safe there. They won't overload America. We're going to keep them in the border towns. But then on the other side, you're like, well, those places are dangerous because there's a bunch of criminals and murderers staying there. But then most of the immigrants coming into the country are asylum seekers. So they have to decide immediately, this person who's claiming asylum is like under threat. We need to save them now. That's the idea behind asylum. So they let them in with the idea that we save them now, we'll follow up and figure out their story later. And so like that's how most of them get in. So like the answer is shut it down completely if you want to stop it, or you got to undo all these other processes.
Wait, did anybody watch the Joe Rogan podcast with JD Vance?
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yes.
So like he talks about that, and the problem with that whole asylum thing is that they're backed up so much with the asylum that the wait list is basically 15 years. Well, they'll get to the thing in 15 years. So like somebody who just comes up and says, "Hey, I'm seeking asylum," could be like legitimate, but like at the same time could very not be legitimate at all. But like you don't know, because it's 15 years that these people are just released into the country before the court case is even brought up. So it's 15 years of whoever the fuck wants to come over, they just say, "Hey, I want asylum," and they get released into the country for 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying like there's got to be an actual solution, which like if you drill down to their points, like the only answer is just shut it down completely. Do not let anybody in. Yeah, which
I think that's exactly how it should be. We have a problem with trying like, and I get wanting to help people and doing all that stuff, but America has a problem with giving out too much help and not focusing on itself. Our country's fucked up in a lot of places, really, really bad, and we're just shelling out millions and billions of dollars to other countries, and then also just allowing millions of immigrants to come in that we have no check on at all. You know what state doesn't, or you know what country doesn't fucking just let random people come into there? Is Canada. You don't get to just go into that country and do random things. But nobody has like a bad taste on Canada, right? They just need to do it the right way. Like they need to immigrate here correctly, but they don't do that because we just allow all these loopholes to get around it. But then we have all these homeless people. We have all this other shit going on in our country that we should be spending that money and focusing on that than just giving these people fucking asylum to the country. And then all this money, they give them phones, they give them internets, they give them house, they give them all kinds of shit just to come into the country. Why is that shit not being given to the homeless people that actually are citizens of this country?
I mean, the system's all jacked up. That's why, like, my biggest concern, and that's always coming from a petty place, is I have a severe disdain for billionaires. Like, that idea that all that stuff's, like, funneled up is, I feel like, what manipulates the politics. It's what manipulates policy. You start looking into the things that they actually do to make their companies successful, and they even go so far as to like put out propaganda and twist the narrative on people to be like, oh, this thing that you said was bad isn't actually a problem at all.
So look at it from this perspective, right? Yeah, he's a billionaire, right? And he's done all this stuff. He's giving up his billionaire lifestyle where he could just be fucking golfing on Mar-a-Lago 24/7, never doing anything, to get assassination attempts against him, to get drugged through the mud, random court cases, all kinds of shit going on, right? Like when he could just be doing nothing. if you want to look at somebody that actually gives two shits about the country is trying to do something to make it better, that would be my point. Is why he got my vote for that, right? Instead of the other side that's been in office for 4 years and hasn't done shit with it.
And see, my only issue is he was president before.
Yeah, and he made a huge difference in the country.
But he didn't fix the problems. They're still ongoing. So he puts like stopgaps on things, like all the politicians do. They put stopgaps, they poke at stuff, they never actually do anything. That's why I feel like they should have just picked two brand new people from the start.
Well, if you have the other side fighting so hard just to smear him that he has to spend half his time defending himself, it's hard to change things.
I don't know. I mean, there's not a straight answer, but it's just there's a lot of rhetoric that seems like talking about undoing unions and talking about like pushing. I don't particularly care for any of the parties that push religion, because that comes across as like we're trying to go back. Like we were watching this thing where it was talking about feminism, and they were talking about like in the early 1900s there was basically the suffragette movement. There's all these ladies trying to get more rights for women to be able to vote and be able to have a bank account and do all these extra things. And then come the 50s, that rhetoric kind of went away because they were slowly chipped away at by like newspapers and magazines and all these other forms of media to be like, oh, we should be in the house, we should be homemakers. And then so it like twisted their minds into going back to that. And it seems like overall that narrative's being pushed again, and like people are starting to forget that people had to fight hard to get unions and fight hard for all these rights. And they're like, well, we don't really need that anymore because the media's flooding us with stuff saying otherwise. It's just, you got to be very paranoid about all the media now, and there's so much extra of it, so it's
just
tough
listen to Joe
dig down.
Rogan. He knows it all. So that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watch Joe Rogan, but he's also like a thinker, like a paranoid type of person. Like I would call myself. I try to like dig into stuff. Like I listened to him talking about like his biggest issue came from like when the fucking media was saying that he was taking horse medication. He's like, no, this was prescribed by a doctor. So like you're twisting the narrative to make me sound stupid. So like you have to be careful because it comes from both sides. Like everybody needs to do it on their own, like dig in and find the truth of these things, because you can't trust just like clickbait headlines anymore. I'll even find myself, I'll go through and be like, oh, look at that, can you believe that? And then you like go in and actually like read what happened. You're like, oh, it's bullshit. Or it's from like 6 years ago, or any number of other things that just trying to get some more support, trying to drum up some rhetoric for him. I'm just paranoid of everything.
I like reading the comments a little bit better. They're so doom and gloom, it's pretty funny to me.
I mean, that's what I was saying. I was like, most likely nothing catastrophic would happen. That's the boring answer because it's reality. Like, things are probably not going to be like, I even watched one of the old South Parks where they were like locking themselves in a bunker when McCain and Obama were getting elected. And I was like, they kind of do this every time. Every time everybody's like, this is the end of the world. This person's going to bring us down and that'll be it. And like, probably not, because it's gone on for a long time. But I was like, looking at the greater picture, starting to see a shift in like just the things you come across that are like, where is everything going directionally? Like, people need to not forget, like, just because you're making progress. Like, I remember talking to one of our sergeants, and we were talking about when the gender roles started becoming a thing. And we're like, well, this is really dumb. Like, obviously, you're like, I don't like this, so I think it's dumb. But you're like, well, if you look at it like, this is progressive thought. People meeting their hierarchy of needs. They don't have to, like, find food, find shelter. They can start expanding their thought into other areas. And so that's like a sign that we've progressed to the point where people can start exploring more abstract thought. And then the reaction to that is everybody going, I hate this. I don't like this in my life. And I'm not saying people don't take it too far and push it on people, because that's not right either. but like it's like a knee-jerk reaction, like, no, we got to get away from this. I don't like it. Undo it. And like you got to kind of, as a society, move past that part, because you're like, after everybody's had a chance to experience all these random thoughts and ideas, they start grounding on new things, and you hopefully progress into like the next stage that wouldn't be possible if we were all still just trying to survive.
Sometimes people having too much time to think on their hands creates issues, though.
But that's philosophy, you know? If you take away that like people have to work for a living because if they don't, they're dead, then like what would you do? You would be artistic, you would explore, you would expand your mind, try to like better the race overall. And that stuff that's like the school of philosophy, like exploring weird ideas.
Your problem is that not every person has the mind or the brain power to do that, to grow the human race, to think up those things. Yeah, sure, everybody has a somewhat artistic mind, can make art and do things, but not everybody can just be a philosopher or an inventor or a scientist that helps move the race forward. Some people just don't have the mental power to do that, and that's just life. That's genetics, right? It is what it is. Some people need something to do all day, right? And maybe that's work, right? Just go through work and move on and keep the day going, right? You got to have something to pass the time. So if you just sit around and do nothing all day, it's not like you need to be active, right?
God, I could do that.
I'm not saying people wouldn't be active.
No, but what I'm saying there is like there's a metaphor used to use as like all chiefs and no Indians. You need Indians, right? You have to have some people that are in charge and make those decisions, do things, and then you just need Indians to be workers, right? And take that to whatever you want it to be, right?
Hey, don't talk about my people like that. Seriously.
Like that's just life, right? That's why human nature has been to work in some sense of the imagination throughout all of time. Whether it was going out to gather food, whether it was going out to do other things. And yeah, now we use money to trade for it, right? But it's just, it is what it is, right? And I'm not saying it's a perfect system, but
people don't, and this goes back to when we was talking about robots and stuff, like if people get to that point, people would work if they want to. Like they wouldn't, like some people just enjoy doing stuff. And if you didn't have to worry about it, then some people would go be artistic and philosophy and do that kind of stuff. And some people would just be like, you know what? I just like working at the bar. I like talking to people and serving drinks or something. Like all these things, people get bored and eventually would
sit at their house all day long and do nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, and then those people would eventually.
Why did they deserve to have the same kind of house that I do if I go work hard for mine? There's no like benefit to you. There's no like initiative to go work harder when you have something like that, right? So if you want to talk about something that would stall the growth of humanity, that would do it.
Let's stall
because you
it.
can't you can't have people that want to be better and learn new things and think of like that makes your mind think of things, right? Is to go work and have initiative to be better. And some people aren't driven by money, right? And some people are, right? That's just how it is. But if you don't have some level of wanting to be better and be recognized for it, what's the point? Nothing is going to keep going. It'll all stop.
Yeah, but that's just natural selection again. If people decide they don't want to do anything and they're just too lazy to function.
Not if you give them all the same amount of money and all the same stuff to survive. If you give them all the stuff to survive on a basic level, then no, that's not natural selection.
Otherwise, it just comes across as you're like holding on to old world values. And it's like if you tried to go back 100 years and explain current day, like your day-to-day life to somebody back then, it wouldn't make sense. They'd be like, what do you mean you just watch the internet or you go on your phone? Like these things don't make sense to me. It's like when they're talking about bringing back, so I hadn't heard this argument, but they were talking about bringing back like factory jobs. And you're like, on the surface, it's good, right? We bring back jobs for people. On the other hand, with the stuff that they're talking about with like unions and stuff and how it's all been outsourced to like China and stuff, China gets the work because they put people in borderline slave labor. Like you want that kind of work to come back? Like people shouldn't have to work in mines anymore or be putting stuff together on an assembly line. Like you should aspire to something better.
I mean, I think everybody does, but at a certain point, some people just don't have the skills to be better. Right? Yeah, I aspire to be a professional hockey player, but I am not good enough to do it, right? Like everybody has an aspire to want to be better. That's great. But sometimes you got to just deal with the real world facts that you're not good enough to do those things, right? And you do have to just do a basic thing. But if you take away the need to still do that basic thing, then what do they have? Nothing.
I mean, then you're just doing things for the enjoyment. Like, you aspire to be a professional hockey player. You know you're not gonna be, but are you playing hockey?
Yeah, but I have paid to go play hockey, right?
But you like it. That's that's like the kind of thing is, you know, as much as an introvert or whatever you say you are, you would leave your house to go play hockey.
Yeah, that's fine, but that's a thing I do because I work to be able to pay to go play hockey, right?
Yeah, but if you didn't have to work though.
Yeah, but would there be hockey pads? Would there be hockey sticks? Would there be hockey pucks? Probably not, because those companies wouldn't exist at the level that they are now. You wouldn't have the technologies that you have in those things, right? That's a great example of it. You wouldn't have the technology you have in sticks or pads or helmets or any of those things because those people that were doing that to try and be the best company at that have no reason to. You took away all the reason behind it, right?
I mean, most people make that company because they're like, "Hey, I want to like make a better stick." Like, that's kind of how that starts.
Yeah,
right?
but it would never grow to what it is now without that.
Why not?
Because I guarantee you that more than half, probably 75% of the people that work at that company aren't there because they enjoy making hockey sticks.
Well, I mean, now, but like the unenjoyable parts would be the thing that's like robots, right? But like the enjoyable part, which is how do we make things better? Because somebody is so invested in hockey that all they want to do is make hockey better.
That initiative's not there, though.
It is there.
No, it's not. It's not.
I mean, I feel
these
like
things sort.
It's a minority of people.
It's
a minority of people that have that thought.
Yeah, but like anymore, you can. So again, we're talking about our current progress going into the future. So they're working on technology that can do everything a human can do. So if you eliminate that and somebody's like, hey, I need a better glove, I need a better stick, you contract some company in their army of robots to make it for you.
Yeah, now you can. But
that's what I'm saying. Like,
what point is there to do that, though? What point is there to make that company do that, right? There's no money. Like, what you're saying is your end goal is, right, that everybody wouldn't need to work. They wouldn't need money, right? That's your end goal there. And that if there's no point to develop that better technology because you're not going to make more money off of it, right? What's the point? And if you think that company that owns all the robots is going to do that shit for free, you're crazy. It's never going to happen.
You also hit a threshold, though, where when you get to a point where if they do, which they are currently working on robots that can do all this stuff, once you've eliminated all these positions that you're tired of paying a human to do, what do you do with all the humans?
Why are they making the robots?
To eliminate the human jobs.
But what's the basic idea behind why they're making the robots? You think they're doing it for the good of humanity? Think about it.
They're
making these robots because in the end run, it's cheaper to have a robot do that job.
And what's the end goal, though? Once you've phased out all the people,
their end goal is not to fucking make life better for everybody else. I can promise you that. Their end goal is to make a product that is worth something. It has nothing to do with wanting to make the world a better place and people not have to work. That's not what it is. As much as everybody could want it to be that won't be what it is.
No, I mean, I agree. But
they're making a product. Right? I mean, like, take Elon Musk, right? Crazy out of this world thinker, all this other shit, right? Like, he's not making that robot because he wants to see like everybody else. He's the richest fucking dude on the planet. He's making that robot because he can, and he knows it's going to be a product that's worth something. He's a businessman. It's just the truth. As much as you could want it to be for the better of humanity, it won't be.
It still goes back to what I was saying. I feel like this is like a concept us today wouldn't understand, but you're like, in the future, these are things that are going to have to worry about. You're going to have to worry about what you do with all the people and whether or not it makes sense to us now because we have grown up and all we know is money needs to be there. There's probably a solution, even if it's just we're going to let everybody die so we don't have to worry about them anymore. Or
the only thing that I'm actually worried about is what we're going to talk about next week. So make sure you tune in next week to your least favorite podcast to see what I was actually going to say but forgot because there's a lot of other talking going on. So we'll talk to y'all next week. Finger guns.